Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wellness Day 3. We're going to give everyone just a couple minutes to get into the session. I'm seeing there's a few more people popping in here, so we will get started in just a second. Okay. So we are going to get going here. I'm going to start with just a couple housekeeping items. So this is Zoom webinar, so we can't see your faces, but if you do want to interact with us, please go ahead and send something in the chat. There's a button at the bottom. If you click on it, you can also change the settings from all panelists to all panelists and attendees, and then everyone will be able to see your messages. You can also send any questions you have throughout the session through the chat or through the Q&A tool that's at the bottom there as well. And we have closed captionings today as well. So if you'd like to hide those or show those, there's a button at the bottom that says live transcript. You can click on that and choose to either show those subtitles or hide them. We're going to be sending out a survey at the end of the session. There's going to be a link in the chat and a button that pops up in your web browser. So if you can please send us your feedback, we really appreciate all of the wonderful thoughts you have to share. So Wellness Week Day 3, we are so excited to be starting the third day of such a great initiative. For those that aren't familiar, maybe this is the first Wellness Week session you're attending. Jay and I here work at Horizon Housing, which is an affordable housing provider in Calgary. And we serve just over 1,200 Calgarians. And it's definitely been a hard year for everybody. And we wanted to find a way to bring wellness directly to the comfort and safety of home. And as a housing provider, we thought, how are we going to do this? And we actually work with over 40 agencies in the city that provide supports and services. And, we partner with them in terms of providing supports to those that live with us. And we also work with great businesses and such generous donors like RBC. And so we were able to bring together a big group of people to provide a variety of virtual sessions throughout the week. And, we have topics ranging obviously from financial wellness to mental health to physical wellness. And we thought this was just a great way to bring everyone together from the safety of our homes. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Che, and she's going to introduce us to today's session.
Thanks, Moira. I'll just be giving a brief overview of today's session and our presenters, and I will pass it over to them to get to the fun stuff. Maybe we wouldn't call finance fun stuff, but I certainly do. Welcome to Money Mindfulness. So this session today is going to be about all things money, including goal setting and online security when you're banking. Our presenters today are Alexandria Onyedika, Folake Okusanya, and Dennis Smushko. They're all from RBC. Alexandria and Folake actually work at the RBC meeting place in Edmonton, Alberta. And then Dennis is from our very own Calgary. And he actually works on the university campus right now. Just a little bit of background about our presenters. Alexandria arrived in Canada in 2012 from Nigeria, where she had worked in banking for 8 years. Alexandria has been with RBC since 2014, and with a total of 15 years of professional experience in banking, she likes to use her unique experience of once being a newcomer to Canada to mentor and empower other newcomers so they can manage their finances and achieve personal success. Folake also arrived in Canada in 2012 and brought with her over 8 years of experience in human resources. She earned a graduate diploma in business after arriving in Canada and joined RBC after attending a career fair. Folake is a champion for newcomers, using her knowledge of banking and her relationship building skills to help them feel at home faster after arriving in Canada. And finally, last but not least, we've got Dennis. He currently works at our very own University of Calgary's RBC on Campus branch, which is a special initiative. He arrived from the Ukraine in 2013 and joined RBC in 2016. Working at a university campus means that Dennis gets to meet local and international clients regularly. He's passionate about financial education and literacy, especially in the areas of budgeting, borrowing, and investing. So we brought this awesome superstar team together today, and they're going to talk to you about financial wellness, about goal setting, about online security, and share as many resources and tips as they can with you today. So I will turn it over to you. Take it away, guys.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for patience. I'm sorry for the background noise. There are some renovations in apartment nearby, but they should be done soon. So my name is Dennis, and I'm happy to chat with you guys today about money mindfulness. Together with me, as Che mentioned, there is Alexandria and Folake. We worked in past, and we deliver presentations to different groups, and we're happy to be here today. So I hope everyone can see my presentation, and please, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to ask them in the chat. We'll try to answer them on the go, and at the end, we'll have a question and answer session so we can, actually talk about it. One sec. Oh. There we go. Before we jump into the presentation, just wanted to share a few other slides about RBC Meet in Place. So again, this is a special type of branches across Canada that works directly with newcomers, and not necessarily we, focused on helping clients only with banking. There are other things that we do that pertain to career or your personal well-being. So we have team in Brampton and Markham. Now we have team in Edmonton, where Alexandria and Folake are from, and we got a team in British Columbia. So if any of you have any friends, please be sure that if you refer them to one of these locations, they will get the best and most friendly service out there. And then the most recent team in Calgary is going to be me. We just opened the branch in June, so I'm still working at University of Calgary, and my team will be expanded soon. So let's chat about money mindfulness. The areas that we will be covering today include following. We'll, again, talking about managing your money and the importance of savings. There will be a few examples from real life, and which I find pretty entertaining and quite relatable. Then we'll go over some life hacks of how to actually help you manage your money and start saving. Those will include principles of successful investing, some investment tools. At the end, as we mentioned, we're going to talk about protecting your money, the money that you worked hard for, and cybersecurity. So I will go in and ask everyone to share something in a chat. What would you do if you got $10 million? I know it's a pretty common question, but if you have any ideas, please share it with me and with us, and I will bring it up. I'm just trying to see the chat here. Like personally, for myself, I don't have a plan yet for this. Folake or Alexandria, do you guys see any people, throwing out ideas in a chat? Because I don't see the chat, and I don't want to, zoom out of the presentation.
I see.
Perfect. Can
Some
you read
suggestions?
it out?
Yes, I will. The first one I see says, I'll take a really long vacation.
That's
Another
great.
one says, I'll buy a mink coat, but not a real mink coat. Another one says, buy some property. Those are very good ideas. Those are the options we have at the moment.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. As you see, there is no one has a very specific plan for that type of situation, right? Because we don't really count.
There's a beautiful one here that says,
okay,
I'll start a charity with live music or something practical. Another one says, attempt my best to use only interests. I need very little interest. I will start a charity with live music, something practical. Sounds interesting as well. All right, so I think I'll hand it back to you.
So good. Thank you so much for sharing. That was I like that you engaged. This is a very, interesting and broad question because, as I mentioned, no one is really prepared for this, and it could be a disaster. It's hard to manage your money, but the truth is that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It's about your discipline and personality. So there are a few stories that I wanted to share with you about real life, about real Canadians, and how they manage their money. So there was a Sharon Tiabisi from Ontario. She in 2003 won almost around $10 million just in the lottery. And she was just a regular person, taking a transit to work, working her job, She had a few kids, and then she became very rich all of a sudden. So guess what happened to Sharon? In the first 3 years after she won the lotto, she spent half of her money. So basically half of the $10 million were gone in the first 3 years. And it happened because she, some of you said, took long vacations. She helped her friends. She helped her family with expensive gifts, helped some business ideas. And you can blame her for trying to be nice to different people, and just trying to get things that she were not able to afford. But it carried on. And after another 6 years, she spent the rest. Basically in 9 years, she went from a regular person to a very rich person, and then back to a regular person. And she had an interview afterwards, and she shared that she was actually never happier after she went back to being a regular person, because it was very overwhelming for her to have $10 billion. Although it seemed like a dream, but it was overwhelming, and a lot of attention. She wasn't ready for it. She didn't have a plan, and yeah, she lost all the money, but it was a great experience, as she described. But then we have another person. His name is Sean, and he's also from Ontario. Sean had a goal, had a dream to get a house, and as all of us do. But again, all of us know that buying a house is probably the biggest purchase in your life. And in order to do that, most of us will have to get a mortgage. And that's a big loan that you will have to carry with you for 20 years, 25, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, but it's going to be for a while. So Sean, at the age of 27, managed to buy a house in suburbs of Ontario. And I believe that it was the beginning of 2011, somewhere there. He made a goal for himself to pay off the house mortgage as soon as possible. In order to do that, he went through different life sacrifices. He was living in a basement and renting the rest of the house to different people. He was working several part-time jobs. He did not have a car. He was biking or taking transit everywhere. He was limiting himself from meeting his friends. However, it was very harsh, I think, reality for him, but he paid his mortgage out in 3 years and 2 months. And it is mind-blowing to me. I don't think I personally would be able to do that in terms of putting myself through such life sacrifices, but he became mortgage-free before he turned 30, or like when he turned 30. He even wrote a book about his methods. And here we have two examples, right, of different situations when people get a lot of money out of nowhere, or people don't have money, but they still, make their dreams happen and make their dreams come true. And it's really not about how much money you have, it's how you manage it, what type of behavior you have. So talking about, managing your money, I know the whole point is not to discourage you from spending. Spending is great, it's necessary. It's important to understand that spending money on something that you need is okay, it's good. Spending on money that you want on something that you want might not be good, because then you just might look at some luxury items that not necessarily you can afford. It's okay to do that from time to time, but so in order to help you navigate, with your day-to-day purchases, I'll pass it over to Folake, and she will share with you a few life hacks that we prepared.
Thank you, Dennis. So let's talk about the life hacks. 3 life hacks that will help you with your money mindfulness. Before we say what the first one is, let's think about it. Generally, when we receive money, there are 3 things we could likely do with that money: spend it, save it, or even give it. But just like when money comes into your hands, the first thing you're thinking about are your needs. It happens in many cases that we end up paying others first. So paying others first in this case is more like spending the money to meet the needs. before we remember that, oh, there's a need to save for a goal and then give. So our first life hack is pay yourself first. You pay yourself first by saving. If something is left, you put it on spending, and then you give. That is the priority. Save first, then you spend, and you give. We all know of Warren Buffett, who is one of the most successful investors of our time. And he has this to say: spend what is left after saving, not what is left after spending. So don't save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving, which ties to our number one life hack: pay yourself first. And I know the question you may have on your mind is, how much should I save? That will take us to a very quick exercise on the next slide. I want you all to go into the chat box and just tell me, for example, if you love coffee. I know a lot of us like coffee, so let's do a quick exercise there. Put in the chat how much you spend on coffee a day and how many days a week do you take coffee. I'll wait for your responses. Okay, so I have one that says $4 3 days a week. So let's use that as our example. So the cost of our coffee is $4 and we have 3 days a week. So let's use that as our first example. And on the second line, Dennis, if you don't mind, I'd like you to take the second example, which is $8 a day, 6 days a week. So that's the second option we have. And we're going to do the math together, okay? So we have $4 a day times 3 days a week times 52 weeks. I'll tell you what it is now. So 4 times 3 times 52. For that first one, we have $624 in a year. Okay. And the second example we're looking at is $8 a day for 6 days a week times 52 weeks. So $8 a day times 6 days a week times 52 weeks. So I have 2,496 at the end of the year. Okay, and we'll just add one more, $2 a day. Oh, I have some more coming here. $2 a day, 7 days a week. So let's use that as our third example. So $2 a day, 7 days a week, and 52 weeks. And that will be $728 in a year. Now, this little example is not to judge, okay? It is simply to show you that it all adds up. And trust me, coffee is discretionary spending. This means that it's a choice. It's not a do or die, right? We could make some adjustments. I know that some people can't do without coffee. Yes, I know. But sometimes maybe we can decide to make our coffee from home in order to save some money, which will be our save first. Pay yourself first. Okay? So it may look like, oh, it's just $4. Oh, it's just $8. Oh, it's just $2. But guess what? When you do the math, it does add up. Okay, so let's keep going. Now, let's talk about the importance of saving, right? We've talked about the fact that, okay, you have 3 options. You either save, or you spend, or you give it out. And we have said your first life hack is to save first. Save, but you want to keep in mind, what am I saving for? Why is it important? Now, when you think about the goals you have in life, many of these goals are tied to a cost, which is financial. And many of these goals could probably not be funded from a single paycheck. So there is a need to have a consistent plan in place to be able to put money aside to achieve our goals. And this brings us to the next life hack. Life hack number 2, which we call set goals. And to make you understand this better, we've decided to have some little phrases to break it down. So S would mean see it, E would mean explain it, and T will mean time it. See it, write it down. Because I trust me, sometimes when we have so many dreams and desires, we end up forgetting about them, maybe because we didn't write it down. So step 1 is to write it down. Put it in a place where you can always see it. It is before your eyes. The next thing you want to do is to flesh it out. Think about the how can you make it happen. One of the hows was that exercise we did about looking at our discretionary spending and how we can take out some money from there and put it towards a goal. And of course, our T, which is very, very important, is to time it. You are more likely to achieve that goal if you can see it, flesh it out, and give yourself some time. At this point, I will hand it over to Alexandria to take us through our number 3 life hack.
Thank you very much, Folake and Dennis, for bringing us to the stage. I just love it. That saying from Warren Buffett, save first, right? And Folake just took us through that in that life hack number 1. Then number 2, see it, explain it, and time it. Now we're getting to this 3rd life hack, using the right tools. So it is important, like Folake said, visualize that dream, that financial goal, right? Explain it. How do I get there? Then what time do I need to get there? So now the next question is, how do I save for it? What accounts, what tools, where, how can I make it happen? That brings us to the 3rd life hack, which is using the right tool. So some of us have one account and they're wondering, can I have 2 accounts? Yes, you can have many accounts, right? Because you might want to save for different goals in different accounts. So it's good to separate it. If my short-term 1-year goal is to go to Montreal for that maybe festival, summer festival in 2022, I need to separate it from my other goal, which is maybe to buy a house in 5 years. So it's good that you have different accounts, and you will see you can name it for clarity so you don't mix it up. So separate it, automate it is the number 2. So automate it is, it's good to commit to an amount, make it regular, make it automatic. Let it come out from your pay. The day your pay hits your account, let it come right from that account, so that before the spending starts the next morning when you wake up, you will notice, oh, my pay has hit my account and my goal has been serviced. Now I wake up to, what is the balance? So that just adds up to what we heard my colleague mention about saving, paying yourself first. So when you automate it, that would happen. But if you don't automate it, you will see yourself saying, you know what? Let me write my bills. Now my pay has hit my account. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. And then savings will be an afterthought. So the next one is naming it. Like I said, it's good to have those various accounts for those various goals, and you can name it. Some banks, online banking gives you the capability. So check with your bank, look at the online banking where you, even if it's just 2 savings accounts or investment accounts, you can name it, you can nickname it, so that way you are monitoring what is going where. Then we're going to talk about how to grow it, because that money should not also just sit idle, because it will not grow and help you achieve what you need. If we go to the next slide, I'd like to take us through the principles of successful investing. So like we said earlier in that life hack, we're going to grow this money, and we're going to talk about how to achieve that goal, right? So if you look at the slide, That five of them, the very important 5 steps that if you follow through, you will achieve your financial goal. What is the first one? Investing early. I'm going to use this Montreal Festival again as my goal. So let's say Alexandria wants to go to Montreal summer of 2022. I want to enjoy that festival. I need to start early, because now I've timed it, like Folake said. I have seen it. I've visualized myself, in that festival. And the next thing is explain it. How can I achieve it? So now I have checked the cost for me to get there and enjoy myself for that 1 week. It's going to cost me $2,000, for example. Then the next question is how the timing. Remember the SET, right? So time, the time is summer 2022. So what does that say for the principles in front of us? That is why the first one is invest early. I have timed it. I need 1 year, 12 months to achieve $2,000. If I start today to save $5 every paycheck, am I going to achieve it? Folake is shaking her head. So definitely is a no. There's no way I can achieve it. So it's important I start early to save enough. So you can see it all plays out. I'm going to start today to save. I'm going to save the right amount, and I'm going to make it regular. So I'm starting early. Yes. Am I saving regularly? Remember, automating it. So if I start early, I commit to an amount, and I'm putting the right amount, which is the third step, invest enough. So these are very crucial. You won't say, oh, I started early. I started 12 months ago. Good, tick that box. But what were you doing? You were saving $1 a day. Will that achieve it? No. So this is why it all adds up. So these steps are important to follow them right. Okay. So the fourth one is diversifying your portfolio. In your investment, just like you hear this phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. In your investment portfolio, you have 3 asset classes. A portion of your money will stay as cash. Some will be to invest into bonds. Some will be invest into stock. Even right in one asset class, for example, the stock. You don't also need to be in all Canadian stock. Some should go like US market, some go to global market, so that if the Canadian economy is down, you've got something in the US that will pay off, that can take care of the downtime of your Canadian stock. If you've got something in Asia, in the global market, when US is down, then those ones will pay off for what the risk that you're taking. So it's important to diversify your portfolio. And this is why you need to sit with your bank advisor, whatever bank you bank with. You have great advisors who want to sit with you and make sure that your portfolio is well diversified. And they will look at your time frame. How long are you saving for? How much risk can you take based on your time horizon? So these are the advice that when you sit down with an advisor, they will work it out and put you in the right portfolio. And finally is having a plan. If you have this, when you set that goal, you said, I'm going to save for 5 years for my child to go to college. And I'm going to start with $100 every year for the next 5 years. Stick to that plan. So if you remember when we're talking about diversifying your portfolio, you're sitting with an advisor to decide what investment portfolio will best help me meet this goal. And then you guys have arrived at a plan. Then you decided, okay, this my $100 will be going in consistently. Stick to that plan. When market goes up and down, that is fluctuation. You will not waver, you will not shake, you will not be worried because you have a plan. You're not needing that money today. So you don't need to hurriedly go and cash out for like, you know what, close that account, I'm losing money. My 5,000 has come down to 4,800. No, if you have the right plan in place, you would see that it's not gonna hurt you because you have already planned ahead. You have looked at the time. Is it a long-term goal? What do I need to do? So have a good plan so that even when fluctuation comes, you're not shaky. You know what you're doing and you stick to your plan. All right. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to look at some investment vehicles. what are some of the investment plans that can help me achieve my goal? It is good to pick the right investment plan for the right goal. All right. So there are a lot of them, but we're just going to focus on these three today. The most common ones: the tax-free savings account, TFSA. Then we're going to look at the registered education savings plan, for short, RESP. And finally, we'll look at the registered retirement savings plan, RRSP. Let's take the first one, the tax-free savings, on the next slide. So the tax-free savings account, like the name goes, tax-free savings account, is a beautiful account established in 2009, where Canadians are allowed to put in money, save for that medium and long-term goal, and you're able to access this account, take this money anytime without any tax implication. It's also not tax deductible. So when you put money in this account, you don't say, oh, I'm going to take my receipt to my accountant so that he will know that I put money in TFSA and let it reduce my tax. No, there's nothing about tax with this. So that's why it's called tax-free. So some people call it your flat tire account. Some people call it emergency account. So it could be an account for various goals. But usually if you're saving for anything less than 1 month, less than 1 year, perhaps you just look for a regular savings. But if you're doing like a mid or long term, then a tax-free savings, because you want to put that money away from your side. So removing it from your checking or from your short-term savings account into this investment account. And you know that you can always touch it if need be, and there is no tax consequences. If you look at the example on the screen, the blue, the bar shows you a regular savings account. If you remember, I said something like a high interest savings or whatever your bank calls it. So your savings account, regular savings, is just a complementary account to your checking, where you keep money that you don't need. Maybe in the next few months you need it, or within 1 year you need it. So that's like a very short time savings account. You don't need to pack a lot of money there, because if you do, the interest that it generates from that account will be taxable. And that is the example we're putting on the screen. So the person, the yellow bar is saying, I saved into a tax-free savings account. The person, the blue bar, said, I'm going to save in a regular savings. Look at it, after 10 years, both of them saved the same amount, 5,000. Let's pretend that they made 6%, okay, annually. Both of them saved 5,000, made the same interest. But if you look at the result in that 10-year bar, the person that saved within a tax-free ended up with 69,000. But the person that saved within a regular savings ended up with 62. Can somebody give me just a quick answer on the chat? What do you think happened? Why did the person end up with lesser amounts on the blue bar? When they saved the same amount, generated the same interest, why did she end up with 62? And then the other person ended up with 69. Folake or Dennis, anyone see anything on the chat? Not yet. Interest was, reinvested. Great answer. Absolutely. Thank you. So interest was reinvested, but there's one more thing I'm still looking for. Let's see if someone else would give us this answer. Because in both of them, the interest stays there year to year. But why should you end with a lesser amount in that blue, in the blue account, which is your regular savings account? Okay. Taxes. Awesome. Thank you. That is what I was looking for. Yes. So both of them were saving. Very excellent. They have a goal. They were saving seriously. But at the end of the 10 years, you had lesser amounts because you were living in a regular savings account. That account is not tax-free. So you generated interest just like the guy on yellow, but whatever interest you generated was taxed. But the guy in yellow generated interest, and at the end of the year, he's got his money, he's got an interest, there is no tax. That is the power of a tax-free savings account. All right, so we'll go to the next slide, which will bring us to the famous account. I love this account so much because Canadian government have made it very possible for every Canadian child to go to college or university so that nobody will be left behind. So that is why they support this account. The RESP, the Registered Education Savings Plan, is for us, all of us, to save, to give our children that the future that we hope for, that we wish for them to have, that education, college, university. They would need the money to be saved. If you remember the 5 principles: starting early, investing regularly, investing enough. So this plan, this investment plan or investment account is for that goal. And the good thing is that the government is not leaving you alone to do this. They are supporting you. They're supporting all of us to support our children. So if you look at this slide, we divided it into 2 broad parts. On the left side is the Canada Learning Bond, for short, CLB. So no contribution needed for low-income family, and we will explain more when we go to the next slide. On the right side is the grant. Grant is split into 2. For grant, you will see contribution is needed because grant means government is going to match what you put, right? And we're going to look into it in details in the next slide. The one last thing I want to point out here is when you walk into your bank to open an RESP, usually they'll give you 2 options. Do you want to open it as an individual plan or as a family plan? And I'm going to explain what that means so that we are aware if you don't have this account and you plan to go set it up in your bank. The individual plan means, for example, Alexandria has 3 kids, for example. If I decide to choose individual plan, what that means, I'm going to tell my bank to open 3 separate accounts. So my child A, 1 RESP, child B, 1 RESP, child C, 1 RESP. So, and the family plan on the other side is, Alexandria will tell the bank to open 1 RESP. So it's 1 account and the 3 children will be listed in that account as beneficiaries. So each of them will have their own column inside that 1 account. I'll tell you the difference and why which one is recommended, and I'll tell you the reason. So when government puts money for each child in this plan, if the child doesn't go to school, if it is the individual plan, at the end of the, let's say 17 or 18 years, hey, mommy, I'm done my high school. I am not going for any post-secondary education. I'm just going into business. So this child in that individual plan decides, I'm not furthering my education. You will take your money, all the money you have put in that account. The government will take back all the money that they have invested in that account for the child to go to school because the child is not going to school anymore. So that is an individual plan. But if it is a family plan and all the children are in 1 plan, that is the best plan, because if child A comes up and says exactly what I said before, Mom, I'm not going to school. I need post-secondary. I'm done. After my high school, I want to start business. So this child is not going to college or university. Part of the money that government has put in that group plan, in that, family plan, the rest of the children can use it. So some of those money, and I'll explain when we go to the further slides, but just know that being a family plan, the advantage is that government will not take back everything that they have put for that child A. So the money is there, the rest of the children in that plan can take part of it, and I'll tell you how much they can take. So if we go to the next slide, we will look at the CLB, the Canada Learning Bond. Like we earlier said, You don't need any contribution to get this first money from the government. As soon as your RESP is opened, if your family income is low, so there is an income threshold. Every year, government brings draws up the table, the threshold, and will say the number of children versus this number of amount of income is what they're looking at. So if your family meets that level of income, and you don't need to worry your head over meeting the criteria. If you open the account, your bank will submit all your applications to the government. They already have your family income information, and they will be able to check based on the number of children, based on this number of family net income. Are they qualified for CLB? If the children qualify, you would see, even before you start putting your own money, the CLB money will be paid into that account by the government. And that is the first year that plan is opened, each child gets $500. You can see that each child receives $500 that first year. And then if your family income still meets that threshold, every year, each child receives $100 into that account under the CLB. So this is that first type of money that you get from the government when you have an RESP. So each child is entitled to a lifetime amount of $2,000. So once government puts up to $2,000, they will stop. So CLB ends at that point. But remember, there are still grants. We're going to talk about the grants, okay? So the last thing on this slide is just to let you know that if a family has missed out opening RESP, remember, government always pays retroactively. They will always pay whatever that you've missed. If you were qualified, they will check what year were you qualified, and they will look backwards. But the child must not be more than 21 at that time, because CLB cannot be paid anymore after the 21. Okay, so we're going to look at the grants. The basic grant, this Canada Education Savings Grant, for short, is called Basic Grant. So unlike the CLB, the Canada Learning Bond, remember I said no contribution is needed. Just once you meet the criteria, you get CLB. But for the grants, you need to put money for government to match it, okay? So this is the first part of the grant. It's called the Basic Grant. This, everybody is qualified for this. So there is no income criteria for Basic Grant. Basic Grant, once you open an RESP, even if you're in a high income bracket, government will match your first 2,500 contribution. So contribution means the money that the parents put in the account. So if you put $100, government will match 20%. If you put 200, they'll match 20%. Until you continue to put and you get to 2,500 for each child, then the matching stops for that year. So maximum of your money that government can match for you is 2,500 for each child. So if it is a family plan, and let's say my first son is Dennis and the second one is daughter is Folake, and I have both of them in one plan, I can decide to put $200 for Dennis, maybe because he's older, he's going to go to college faster, and then I'm putting 100 for Folake. In that family plan, it is categorized. They're in columns. So you won't be wondering, oh, is government going to know that it's family plan, how much they're putting for each? Yes. So there is one plan, but there's column for each person. So government sees, oh, I put 200 for Dennis. That means Dennis is going to get what? $40 for that month. And government will see 100 going into Folake's section, they will match it. So they will give Folake $20. So if you, by any reason, you missed out, maybe you didn't know about RESP and the child is 2 or 3 years old, so you had this child 3 years ago, you can still catch up for what you've missed. Let's say you have the money, you have the 2,500, and you said, I want to get the maximum matching. Since the limit per year is 2,500, I want to put all of it. You would not say, oh, Alexandria, I've missed 3 years. I'm going to put my 2,500 right away. I'm going to put my 7,500 to catch up for 3 years. No, if you look at the last point, government allows you to catch up for 2 years in 1 year. So you can only catch up for 2 years at a time. So they pay you all your carryover, but you cannot do it at one time. So if you have missed out 2 years ago and you're thinking, I'm going to do 2,500, 2,500, and then this year to make it for 3 years, no, just do 5,000. So catch up for 2019 and 2020. Then next year, you'll put another 5,000 to catch up for 2021 and 2022. So 2 years in 1 year, and then you'll get your 1,000. All right. And the last one is additional grant. So remember, basic grant is for everybody, no income required. As long as you open RRSP, you put money in it, you get your matching under basic grant. Additional grant would require an income level. So government will check, are you in medium income level or are you in a low income level? So additional grant means government will give additional 10% or additional 20% for each child. So based on your family net income, if you are in a very low income level, government will give 20% on your first 500. So remember, basic grant was on your first 2005. They give you the 20%. For additional grant, it's not another 20% on the 2.5. No, just on the first 500, you're receiving another 20%. So that is $100 for your first 500. If you are in medium income level, then you will get additional 10%. So not 20. So additional 10% on your first 500 contributed. So these are great ways money add up in an RRSP. They add up fast and you'll be amazed what a wonderful way government is supporting the children to go to school. So when I mentioned about group family plan, if child A doesn't go to school, that the child B and C can use it. Remember I said they can use some of it, so they cannot touch bond. The Canada Learning Bond is for each person. If the child doesn't go to school, even if it's a family plan, the CLB, that 2,000 for under the CLB will be returned to the government. Then grants, each child for their lifetime is entitled to 7,200. So government will continue to match, to put money until if they have matched up to 7,200 for each child, they will stop. So if child A doesn't go to school and the government grant there is only $2,000 and the rest of the children, maybe based on their age when you open the account, will never get up to 7,200. They can take part of that grant in that account. So you don't need to return the grant unless each child in that plan has enjoyed up to 7,200 of grant. So grant maximum for each child for their lifetime is 7,200. So the earlier you open it, the better, because it starts coming in and you don't miss out, okay? So the last slide we'll be looking at will be the retirement, the RRSP for our retirement. Folake, myself, Dennis, yes, we're working very strong in RBC today, but someday, years to come, we're going to feel tired and say, I am done RBC, I want to retire. How can I continue to live the lifestyle that I have always wanted to enjoy? How can I continue to enjoy it? How can I continue to pay my bills? How can I continue to take care of my needs? So that is why we need to think of that rainy day from today. So when we are working and we start putting money aside into an RRSP, it is not just helping us to save for that rainy day, for that retirement day. It's also doing something very spectacular. It's also reducing your taxable income. So that is a way government is encouraging Canadians to prepare for their retirement. So the example on the screen is, just take for example, Alexandria earns 40,000 every year. So remember how taxes work. There's a tax bracket based on your income level. So the higher income level, the higher your tax bracket, right? So if Alexandria makes 40,000, I'm supposed to be in the tax bracket of people making 40,000. But if I take 5,000 away and put into an RRSP and say, I'm thinking of my future, I'm going to invest for my retirement, government applauds me and said, well done. And how do they do that? At the end of the year, when I'm going to file my tax, I will not be judged on the 40,000 income level anymore for that year. I will be judged based on 35,000 income level. And what do you think that will automatically do to me? All things being equal, can somebody maybe put in the chat, what do you think would happen to me if I file my tax? I'm not judged on 40,000 taxable income anymore because I did RRSP. Now I'm on the 35. Yeah, I'm going to pay less tax. Thank you so much for that answer in the chat. Yes. So most times you will see, you will get maybe tax return, all things being equal. That's why you hear some people at the end of the year, oh, it's RRSP season. I need to go buy more RRSP, right? It's always good to sit down with your sit down with your banking advisor, look at it very well. Don't over contribute. Remember the TFSA, the RRSP, these investment plans, they have limits that you should contribute every year so that you don't over contribute. And that brings me to the end of our investment presentation. And before we go into Q&A, I know we're almost right at time. Folake will take us quickly through cyber fraud. How do we protect all this money that we've been saving?
Thank you, Alexandria. Yes, you've worked so hard to earn this money, but it's also important to protect yourself from being a victim of fraud. Fraud happens when an unintended person gets access to our personal information and then steals from us. So it's important to talk about how can we protect ourselves from becoming victim of fraud. Sometimes you might have received maybe a phone call from an unknown person who could claim to be from the CRA and has a warrant for your arrest. Or maybe you see a random email from a strange email address, you had no connection with the person, and the person is telling you you've won a lottery. Click here to deposit your funds. Or someone sent you an e-transfer, you don't know the person, you don't know the source, and the person is asking you to deposit it in your account. These are all possibilities of where fraud could come from. So how do you protect yourself? Number one, be careful what you do on the internet. I know sometimes you want to feed your curiosity, you're trying to explore and find out what is this about. Fraudsters will actually prey on your curiosities. So you have to be careful about what links you're clicking, whether it's coming to you by email or as a text message or even while browsing the internet. The next thing you should keep in mind is that you need to create long, complicated passwords. Keep them unique, make it complex, one that nobody can easily guess, but you can tell what it is with ease. So for example, if your password, your desired password has an A in it, you could substitute your A for an @ a symbol. Or if it has an H in it, you could substitute it for an hash, okay? The other thing you want to keep in mind is this. Many times you go to public places and there is free Wi-Fi. It is good to enjoy free Wi-Fi, but keep in mind that it's a public Wi-Fi. You cannot control what is shared on that platform. So try not to do your banking on such platforms. Do your banking on safe, secure platforms. We're talking about not clicking on familiar links. And the other thing you should keep in mind is if someone is calling you from your bank or claim to be calling you from your bank and they're asking you for your PIN or password, keep in mind that your bank would never request for your PIN or your password. Your PIN is private and confidential, so is your password. You don't share it with a third party. And if for any reason you have been a victim of fraud, be quick to inform your bank. Or if you receive a call and your gut feeling is telling you you're not sure what this is, trust your gut feeling, go to your bank instead. If you've been a victim, be quick to report it. Look out for your report on your credit bureau to ensure that there's a correction done. Report to the police where necessary. If you lose your card, be quick to report to your bank. Don't leave things hanging, because the longer it takes for you to report a loss, the more likely you're going to lose more. So with all of this in mind, we can all stay safe on whatever platforms we are. Keeping your banking safe, keeping your password secret, creating complicated password, all helps to keep you safe from becoming a victim of fraud. At this point, I'll hand it back to Dennis to wrap up for us.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. I know it's been a very long presentation. Just to wrap it up, I don't want to go through the recap. You can see it on the screen. I know it can be overwhelming to start planning, and it just a little bit of an anxiety around it because it's a long process. But trust me, you will feel much better once you did it, and get help around it. You're not by yourself. It's always good to debrief it with your advisor at your bank. They will help you to, understand yourself and get on that path. And as soon as you at least got done first goal, you booked it off and you start saving it, that's it. You don't need to put any more effort in it. Maybe just follow up like once a year, once 6 months, like with your doctor. Follow up, see how it's going, and that's it. Like that burden will be off your shoulders, and you will feel better about your future. I will quickly address the question that was asked during the chat. It was about the RRSP. So RRSP is another government initiative. It's a registered disability savings plan. So there are 3 main benefits. The same way as RRSP or tax-free savings account or RRSP, the tax is deferred. So basically, if you save within this plan, you don't pay any taxes on your interest or any kind of investment gains. So that's great. Then second, you can use this fund for anything. As soon as you're the person with disability, any kind of expenses that you have, you can use the money for. And the other good part is that anyone can contribute to this plan. Not only the designated person, but your friends, relatives, some family members. As soon as you clear it out with your bank, they can contribute it on whatever basis they want. And then the last, probably the biggest benefits, is that there are government contributions. So basically, government can match up to $70,000 in a Canada Disability Savings Grants. So again, you put some money in, and government will be contributing according to their scheme, right? Some certain percentage. And then additionally, $20,000 you can get in bonds if you qualify for low income disability bond. Okay, I'll return back to Q&A and see if you guys have any other questions unanswered.
I'm just going to jump in a little bit, Dennis, where it says, I think someone asked, after 2000, can the individual add to that account? So the RRSP. I guess that's the question. But if he was talking about 2000, if the 2000 I mentioned was on the CLB, that's the maximum that government puts for Canada Learning Bond. That is not your contribution. And I think scrolling down, yeah, Dennis answered. You can contribute up to 50,000. So contribution is the money you put for each child. And what we went through is, how do you put it every year to get the maximum, the grants from the government? The 2,000 is on the Canada Learning Bond. If the family qualifies, that is the maximum Canada Learning Bond government can put. So that does not have to do with your contribution at all. So contribution, like Danny wrote in the chat, you can put up to 50,000 in the lifetime of the child for RRSP.
Thank you, Alexandria.
Thanks, Alexandria. I know we're at 12 o'clock, and I just want to invite our attendees, if you have any questions, please throw them in the Q&A or throw them in the chat. We'll stick around for a few more minutes, but you might have to run, and that's okay. I just want to mention that we do have a survey for attendees. We just want to hear about your feedback about this session or about Horizon Wellness Week. We request that you fill it out, and you can find the link in the chat. I've just put it there for you. And I want to say a warm thank you to Alexandria, Folake, and Dennis. The tip, the life hack number 1, pay yourself first, is life-changing. It was for me, and it seems so simple as 3 little words, but when I started doing that with my banking, my savings they literally exploded. I feel like I never saved before that. I just really want to thank you for your time and for coming to this session and hosting it, and really leveling with everyone and addressing some of the more specific questions that have come up throughout. With that, let me just pop into the Q&A and see what we've got here. The first question actually is about online security. I think some people, they receive phone calls or emails that seem quite serious and alarming when it comes to banking, and people might be threatening them or saying really serious type things. I just wondered if you had any tips on how to address that sort of interaction with somebody when you might be feeling scared.
Yes, I know that it could be really scary when you hear people calling you to tell you they have a warrant for your arrest, they need you to do certain things by certain times or else you'll be arrested. It could be scary. But keep this in mind. If they claim to be calling from the CRA, it's not true, because the CRA will not call you if they have an issue with you. They will write you letters. And before it gets to that point of being arrested, it must have really lagged for so long. Keep that in mind. I see the question about sharing access to a screen in order to see your computer. Please do not do that. Even if you're working with your banker, you have the option to share your screen if you wish. It's not compulsory. How much more a stranger who is saying they want to access your computer through Team Viewer? Never you provide access to someone that you don't know. If they're strangers and they claim to be from your bank, tell them you would rather visit your bank. That is the safest thing to do. Trust your gut feelings. Okay.
Thank you, Folake. I have another question here. Can you start an education savings plan for a child that isn't born yet? And I'm not sure if that means if the mother is pregnant or if they're expecting a child in the future sometime, but I'm curious to know too.
Okay, Alexandria.
I can jump in for that one. Yeah, so whichever way, Shay, whether the woman is pregnant now or is planning to be pregnant. No, you cannot have an RESP for a child that is not born yet, because you will require the social insurance number for that child. So you will see that there are some small investment groups that are not banks. They even hang around hospitals and they pass their information to pregnant mothers right there when they give birth. Don't let anybody pressure you in the hospital, because you would like to do this with your bank. When you return home, you will first of all need to go to Service Canada and get the SIN number. So most times people get into this contract right from the hospital. So no, you need to have the child born and get a SIN number, because you will require the SIN number to open an RESP. And you can do that with your bank after you've had your baby come back home. Just set it up, okay?
Awesome, thank you. And then I think we have one more question. I think it's perfect to end this session here. I'm feeling inspired. I want to go ahead and invest right away. And I'm wondering if you guys have any tips for simple apps that people might be able to use to say create a budget, or where people can go for more resources and more help as they take charge of their own financial wellness.
I can jump in on this one. So as an RBC employee, I can share that RBC online banking and mobile banking has that type of features. You know, you can set budgets for different categories for yourself, and the app will be monitoring your transactions. Because basically, whenever you spend money from your debit or credit card, every vendor, you know, every shop, they are categorized. So if you're spending money at a gas station, your online banking will know it's a gas station. If it's a grocery store, you know, it's grocery, and you know there are others. But if I were to recommend any non-RBC apps, I would highlight Mint. So Mint is from the company, the Canadian company Inuit. That's the same guys who do TurboTax. So I would trust them in terms of security, and you can connect any kind of banking cards, you know, not only RBC. I tried them and I connected my my Costco card, so it works fine. Same idea, you know, you can set budgets for your different categories. You can get notifications when you approach the budget. It's easy to review transactions. You know, they send you a weekly review, so you don't have to go in yourself. So that's like a notification, you know, it's some type of assistance that you can get. Yeah, I think Mint is probably one of the best ones. I tried a couple other ones, but sometimes you have to pay for it. Mint is completely free. So that's a pretty good feature there.
Can I also jump in here, Shay? Thanks, Dennis. Shay, when we will send you also a link. There is an online budget calculator. It's designed by RBC, but can be used by anybody. So that particular online budget tool, it's very good because you input your expenses, you put everything, it will calculate it for you, and it's very flexible and it can be used by everybody. So it's a link. We'll be sharing it with you, Shay, and you can share it with them as well. It can be used by anybody, not just RBC clients.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, team. What a great session. I took so much away from this. And like I said, I'm not joking. I actually want to jump right into my online banking and go review everything and make sure I'm on track here. So thank you so much for leading an incredible session, for staying a little bit late to answer some of these questions that we had. For attendees, there's lots more Horizon Wellness Week to be had this week. So make sure to tune into our next session. It's Budgeting 101 later today at 1 p.m. And I think just based on some of these questions that we're hearing, it's definitely going to be of interest to anyone who really wants to take charge of that financial wellness piece and reach some goals that they might have. So I will close it here. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much, Dennis, Alexandria, and Folake for being here. And everyone have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ron. Bye.